Amazon's new TV series, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, has premiered, and the show already looks to be doomed. Trailers for the show have been ratioed and mocked all over the internet. But was the show always doomed from the start? Yes. Yes, it was. A series of early, crucial decisions made it impossible for the Rings of Power to succeed. Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, had the idea to copy the success of the phenomenally popular Game of Thrones. That's not a bad idea. It's how Amazon went about it that caused problems. When Jeff Bezos went looking for a property, he apparently decided that Game of Thrones was popular because it was sword and sorcery. So he began looking for a similar property. He settled on J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth series as the one to buy. The Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones could not be more different. Other than both being in the sword and sorcery genre, they have nothing in common. Philosophically, they are diametrically opposed. The Lord of the Rings is moralistic, Game of Thrones is nihilistic. There are many other sword and sorcery properties that would have fit Amazon's needs better. The first one I thought of was this guy, King Kull. The next one was Elric of Melniboné. Either one of these is tailor-made for a TV series or miniseries. Both King Kull and Elric of Melniboné have all the elements that made Game of Thrones popular. They're both stories about a warrior who has to fight to maintain his grip on the throne. Both contain all the violence, action, and intrigue that made Game of Thrones popular. Now, I know what you're thinking. Neither one of those properties has enough sex, violence, torture, and rape to replace Game of Thrones. Well, how about the Gore series? It's sword and sorcery, and it has plenty of rape. The Gore series is all about rape. Jeff Bezos decided not to go with any of these other properties and instead chose to buy The Lord of the Rings. At this point, there was still hope for the series. Unfortunately, another mistake was made. Amazon did not buy the rights to all of the Middle-earth stories. Amazon only purchased the rights to The Lord of the Rings. Not The Hobbit, not The Silmarillion, not The Unfinished Tales, or any of the other Middle-earth legendarium. This decision severely limited what stories the series could tell. However, all was not lost. They could still tell stories using the material in The Lord of the Rings and its appendices. Someone at Amazon, possibly Jeff Bezos, decided to use only a handful of characters from the books and none of the stories. They also made two more mistakes. Amazon went woke and decided to diversify the show. The other mistake they made was to attack the Tolkien fan base, the very people that Amazon needed to make the show a success. As a result, there's already a negative backlash towards the show before the first episode even aired. What could have been done differently? If we were stuck using only material from The Lord of the Rings, you could still make a good show. The first thing I would have done is to make this an anthology show with 1 or 2 stories per season. The first season would be about a man who is a soldier in the army of Gondor. He has done his mandatory minimum service and is looking forward to returning to civilian life with his wife and children. When Sauron's forces attack, our hero has to pick up his sword again to protect his country and family. We would see the Battle of Osgiliath, the Siege of Minas Tirith, and the Battle at the Black Gate. The second season would be about some Southrons, or some Easterlings who don't agree with their government's decision to ally with Sauron. They decide to defect and join the Alliance. With this story, you get all the diversity you want. I'm sure you could come up with some good stories yourself. Certainly what's better than in the show. Well, that's my opinion. I'll try to post more frequently.